French onion soup, one of my favorites. Love to order this in a restaurant. It's hit or miss though. Some restaurants good, some restaurants not so good. I got this recipe from a friend of mine, Hallie, and this one is definitely a hit. So we're making French onion soup. Here's what you're gonna need. You're gonna need some onions, depending on the size of the onions, depends on how many. So we're using about 10 medium-ish size onions. You're gonna need some dry white wine. I don't have dry white wine, but if you have extra dry vermouth, pretty much the same thing. So I'm using that. You're gonna need Worcestershire sauce. You're gonna need garlic. You're gonna need beef broth. You're gonna need chicken broth. You need butter, Gruyere cheese. If you don't have Gruyere cheese or you don't want to spend the money, this is a little more expensive. You can use something like provolone. You're gonna need thyme. Fresh thyme is better. I have ground thyme, not fresh. All my fresh thyme died, so we're using ground thyme. You're gonna need olive oil, and another important part of French onion soup is bread. So if you have some baguettes, use those. I'm just gonna make basically croutons. Actually, you could use croutons if you don't want to make your own, but we're gonna cut up some bread, dry it, and make our own croutons. It depends on how you like your bread in French onion soup. So let's get to making the soup. This might sound overwhelming, but it really isn't that difficult. It's French onion soup. Most important is the onion, so you have to cut them properly. Here's how we're gonna cut the onions. So we want our onion in half like this. The easiest way to cut your onion in half is cut the onion all the way through the root in half and then lay it on your cutting board. And you want to cut these, again, as uniform as possible. You kind of want them all the same thickness. This is actually the hardest part of the recipe right here because you have to cut your onions so carefully. While I'm cutting up the onions, I'm going to melt 1 stick of butter in an oven-proof pan, and I'm preheating my oven to 400 degrees. At this point, I'm going to add my garlic. It calls for 2 cloves of garlic, and a clove is about a heaping tablespoon. So 1 heaping tablespoon, 2 heaping tablespoons. We're just going to mix this in real quick, kind of so it's not all clumped up, and then we're going to cover this, cook it down until it's translucent for about 20 minutes. Then we're going in the oven. Since we're making our own croutons, basically we're going to take our bread and we're going to cube it about as small as you like them. I mean, it's personal preference here. So basically you're going to cut your bread one way and then cut it the other way into cubes. All right, now that we got our bread cubed, we're just going to get it on a cookie sheet here. Kind of spread it out evenly. And while our onions are cooking down, we're going to throw these in the oven and crisp them a little bit. But first we're going to take a little bit of olive oil, just a quick little drizzle, and then just very little onion salt. Get these in the oven and crisp them up while the onions are cooking down. About 7 minutes, 7-8 minutes. Look at these. Wow. Those are amazing. Nice and crispy, nice and brown. So those are gonna be perfect. We're gonna let these cool while we get the onions in the oven. So the onions have been cooking for about 20 minutes. They're pretty translucent, looking nice. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put these in the oven, again at 400 degrees for 1 hour, and we're gonna only stir them twice to keep them from burning, and you want the lid kind of ajar a little bit just so that the moisture can escape. You want them to render down. See you in an hour. These have been in for 40 minutes now. This is it said stir twice, so this is the second time we're stirring. You notice that there's some brown on here because the onions are sticking to the bottom, but that's just fine. So 20 more minutes in the oven, we'll get the rest of the recipe done, but second stirring and back in the oven. Okay, so it's been an hour. I got this out of the oven and we're gonna put it on the stove on medium heat. Look at all the nice caramelization we got. Now we still got 45 more minutes to cook, but we have this on medium heat. We have 1 generous cup of white wine. We're gonna pour this in and kind of stir it around a little bit. And we're gonna let this basically cook down for about 5 minutes before we add the rest of the ingredients. So again, medium heat. We're gonna cook this for about 5 minutes, add the rest of the ingredients. The wine has been cooking down for about 5 minutes. You can see it's basically almost all cooked off. So now we're gonna add the rest of the ingredients. Worcestershire sauce calls for 4 to 5 dashes. 4 cups of beef broth. This is 32 ounces, so no need to measure in a cup. 4 cups chicken broth. Same thing, 1 box. Now my friend Scott's got a food allergy. He's allergic to chicken, so I can't feed him any of this. And then the recipe calls for 3 tablespoons of fresh thyme. I only have ground thyme, So ratio is 1 to 3. You do not want to put 3 tablespoons of ground thyme. Thyme is a great spice, but it is also a spice that you definitely don't want to overdo. And we're just going to give this a good stir. Let's get everything mixed in real good. That looks absolutely like good French onion soup right there. Now it's not done yet. What we're going to do is reduce this heat to low, and we're just going to let it simmer for about 45 more minutes. Then we're going to finish it off. This is cooked down really nice. Look at that. Looks like French onion soup should look. So the only thing we have left to do is get this in bowls, get some cheese on, broil the top, and taste. We're going to put some croutons in, just about a handful in each bowl. Croutons to your liking. If you like more, put more. If you don't like so many, don't put as many. And we're going to top them off with cheese. The cheese I had to make thin slices. But you could use mozzarella if you don't use this nice fancy cheese. And we're going to get these up in the oven on broil until the cheese is melted and nice and bubbly. Alrighty, I made 4 because I got some special guest tasters here with me tonight. That's my mom and my dad. Alright, well, there's only one thing left to do, and that's taste this to see what we think. So let's give this a little fair shake here and see what we think. I like it. What do you guys think?
I don't know, I haven't tasted it yet. Let me try it. I was waiting for you. Ooh, cheese, I love it.
Well, the cheese is stringy, that's for sure.
Very good.
Dad approves.
Yes, very good.
Really good. And Mom approves. So I think we're going to kill the rest of this French onion soup here. Thanks for stopping. Click that thumbs up, like this video. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Click that notification bell. You'll get notifications when I post new videos. Thanks for stopping.